Hello everybody and welcome to Season 2 Episode 3 of the Let's Face It podcast. This is my journey with Ciara Daly. This episode is proudly sponsored by 1620 Audio, the man behind the camera, Sean McDonnell and team. Huge thanks to Sean for your support from the start of my podcast. I know you do a lot for Mudblood and different things like that. So if anyone's thinking about starting up a podcast or thinking about, changing their production team, give Sean a shout on 1620 Audio and he will look after you. He's great and very accommodating and he buys nice coffee. So thanks, Sean. I appreciate it, man. Ciara, what's the crack?
Hello.
You keeping all right?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Nice to meet you all.
It's good to have you on board here. It's lovely to meet you, and I think that Ciara Daly, you're renowned for your makeup world, I suppose, for people who don't know you. You're probably one of the biggest, are you, in the north anyway, in terms of makeup branding?
I've been around a long time. I'm I don't know. I've stuck it out. I've lasted a long time. There's been many kind of came and went. I'm one of the, as someone said to me the other day, one of the OGs of the makeup artists, whatever that means. Yeah,
you're an original. No, but I think even I've been following you, not even for that long to be honest. Obviously because I wouldn't be in the makeup that much, but and obviously you started the Happy Fest, and we had Kieran May on last week or 2 weeks ago, which was a brilliant episode. He was fantastic. And I think that the words that he had to say about you in terms of where you're at with developing Happy Fest and stuff, he had nothing but great words to say about you. So ever since he said that, I was like, right, I need to get chatting to her. And it was a wee bit like Chris last week. I said to him, I don't know whether this is easy or hard because I knew him, but I think it's harder whenever you don't know someone. So I don't know you, so I'm a wee bit
don't worry, I can talk so I don't think we'll have a problem.
We'll be all good. But so the whole point of Let's Face It was just I started it off and getting successful people like yourself in to discuss your journey, and I suppose people from afar, and we talked about it before, about from the outside looking into people's lives, you think everyone is perfect and has everything going for them, and even though you do have 2 successful businesses now, or if you probably have more that I don't know of, but life isn't all sunshine and rainbows, and you've had to work hard and you've had to push through the hard times and stuff like that. But I suppose we'll just start from the start and how you started off with makeup and where you're from and who you came from. And
okay, well, I'm a Westie as well.
Right, okay.
I'll tell you a little bit. I grew up West Belfast in the 90s. I'm 44 now, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I left school. So went and did college, arsed about in college for a couple of years, then got into a job, then got into another job. I'll do a bit of that. And I was selling everything from washing machines to sofas to plumbing to all different things. And then I started, I was a rep for GHD, the hair straighteners.
No, but anyway.
You don't know the hair straighteners. You never had to buy anybody for them. Anyway, so I did that for a long time, but I always had an interest in makeup. But I remember being in my 20s, like your age, thinking I was old, and feeling like I wish I had done makeup when I left school. I remember thinking, oh, I'm too old to start something new. Imagine at 20, 25, 26, 27. And then my mother died very suddenly. She was only 48. And it was just a massive kind of wake-up call for me, for lots of things. I think we all look back in our life and there's definitely pointers that kind of shake us up. Some people, I've heard them referred to as emotional impacts. So things that really just change your life dramatically. So I took a little bit of inheritance and I went and trained as a makeup artist. So that was 16 years ago. Trained as a makeup artist, did lots of different courses, started doing things like bridal makeup, and makeup was very, very different then. Now it's a lot bigger. People go for a night out to go and get their makeup done. It was different. And I remember lots of naysayers at the time going, how the hell are you going to earn a living doing that, Ciara? Then I got married, had 2 kids, and then my marriage broke down. So this was all in the space of a couple of years. So one of the most difficult times in my life was that couple of years between my mum dying, having 2 children, and my marriage collapsing. And it was sink or swim time for me. It was like I was 30 years old. I'd also bought, with my ex-husband, a lot of property, all 2007, 2008, before the big crash. And I remember, so now it was 2009, and I remember just thinking, I have 2 babies under 2, and my whole world had fell apart, and it was just sink or swim, and I just had to dig really, really, really deep. And I just threw myself into my makeup business. I started to do makeup courses in a tiny, it was upstairs in a friend's salon out in Lisburn, a wee tiny studio, probably about the size of in here. And I literally just put all my strength, time, effort and courage into doing that. I then started reading books like The Secret, and I remember listening to CDs by Tony Robbins, and you know, back in the day when you had CDs, it was before you could have podcasts and things on your phone. So I started into self-development back then, and that was really the start of my makeup journey, like the real, when I started just to get a bit of success from it. Like,
and like even through that difficult time, Ciara, like, you know, what did you... Was there ever a stage where you needed to go and get like sort of professional help? Or
the first time I was diagnosed with depression, I was 26. There was nothing really significant happened to me at that point. There was a couple of different stressful things, but I remember, and for a long time, even through my 30s, I remember going, well, why did that happen to me at the age of 26? There was nothing really significant why I had like a breakdown at 26. Then all through my 30s, like what you were talking about, I was on antidepressants constantly all through my 30s, on and off, and for 16 years. But up until 2 years ago, I was on antidepressants for 9 years, constantly at the doctors trying to either up the meds, change the meds. Just thinking, I had the mindset of it was like hereditary, it was genetic. My mum suffered from depression, my 2 aunts in America suffered from depression. This was just a chemical imbalance in my body. So yes, all through that time, you see, it's like we were talking about before we started about people's perception. So yeah, I was having great success. You know, and it took time, don't get me wrong. It wasn't, people say it takes years to become an overnight success. It was hard graft, knocking people's doors. Like, you know, Facebook and all was only really starting then. We didn't have social media. I remember literally driving about with my 2 babies in the car with leaflets and stopping at hairdressers and beauticians and literally walking in and trying to, is anybody here interested in doing a makeup course? Like literally thinking, how do I get business? You know, or sending emails but so I was working. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, I was suffering badly, you know, from depression and trying to manage that as well.
Yeah, and it's hard. Like I've talked about it a few times about whenever you are doing that and going out, and obviously it's your own brand, it's your own name, and you have to put on, you know, a mask more or less, and it's very hard because you're using up a lot of energy pretending to be something that you're almost not, in terms of like your emotions and how you're really feeling. Like, and like you did mention about the pedestal thing, and it's very, very like it. I never really thought about it until you said to me there now, and you get it everywhere. Like, and even I had it with you. Like I said, like you coming in this morning, and I was a wee bit nervous meeting you and stuff. Like,
you don't feel like that now, but do you?
No, I'm comfortable now. You're all right. But you know, and I'm sure, like, even whenever I'm going to meet like sports people or whatever, sometimes you get a wee bit nervous, or you know, and for what, as we said at the start there, you know, because we always put these people up so high, and they're just normal people at the end of the day, aren't they? Like, and it's just it's something that even through social media that people nearly put themselves out there as something they're not. And it almost means like, even especially like even young girls, even young lads too, like going, you know, I want to be like him, or her, but it's nearly like, you know, that's not real, that's not their real life. So don't be comparing yourself to to what they're at the whole time, like, because it's fantasy world nearly, isn't it?
I've been talking to a few people recently about this. In fact, I was doing that podcast for Stranmillis World Mental Health Day the other day, and I guess everything's, as we talked about, is perception. I don't think that it's not that it's fake, right?
Yeah.
It's not that, I understand what you're saying, but I think that every single person all has different, it's not that it's a mask, it's just different facets of us. And it doesn't mean that one's less real than the other. It's just a different facet. So, like, you sitting with your friends is going to present one type of thing. Are you out on the pitch being a hurler? Is you in a different mode? It doesn't mean that one's real and one's fake. So does that...
No,
you know what I mean? So it's like, be okay. I think it's just knowing that people have multi-facets or multi-faces. It's... I think, like, because I'm going, well, does that mean I'm fake then whenever I go on and do a makeup thing? No.
Yeah.
It's just another part.
Yeah.
You know?
I totally get you, 100%.
Yeah.
But it's nearly like, right, so Ciara Daly's coming out and she's on so many thousand followers on Instagram or whatever. So she's amazing.
Yes, I understand that. No, yeah, like that's all I am. I think what we need to... Yes, I get what you're saying. I think what we need to do is understand that it's only that which is what is presented, and to go, well, maybe behind... There's lots of other faces. It's not just taking that face and that's all there is. Yeah. I totally agree with you on that. Like, yeah.
And it's actually like, you know, from that girl in her late 20s going in, sitting in a studio, like going rapping people's doors, the kids in the car. Like, I can just picture it, the hard slog, and then you know, now you have a place in the Lisburn Road. You have your own makeup brand, you have your own courses, you have all that. Like, you know, that much. There must be, like, you know, a sense of pride inside you, is there? Or do you ever reflect on it?
Do you know what? I think lockdown really made us stop, because I felt when I look back on my 30s, I was a little bit of a hamster on a wheel. The next thing. Of course I look back and I am very proud of the things that I've achieved. And me and actually another makeup artist, Paddy McGurgan, spoke about this during the summer. I said, like, was it worth it? You know, my mental health suffered really bad. And I go, was it worth it? People ask me that all the time whenever I share about my mental health. And I go, well, I could have done something else and still had bad mental health. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's not that one had to pay for the other. It's just a life. So I don't have any regrets. I don't have any regrets. I am really proud of the things that I have achieved. And I understand that everything happens for a reason. And I just hope going forward now that I can inspire people. You know, first of all, it's about, I want to say to people, look, yes, I did have all this success, but like at the start of lockdown when everything stopped, I was really sick. Really sick. My friend Stephen Clements had just took his life. It's something I'm going to touch on. The suicide awareness thing. This might sound a bit... I have to be careful what way I say this, but to me, putting out suicide awareness, we all need to be aware of suicide. To me, in a way, it's nearly advertising it. It's making it... It was never an option to me. And when Stephen took his own life, I was so low at one point that it became an option in my head. So for a point when I was really sick, I had suicidal ideation. And I didn't have suicidal thoughts, which is I would never have done it. I have two beautiful kids, and no matter what I'm going through, I would never... It's not really an option, if that makes sense. But I don't want... This suicide awareness, it's like... It's nearly advertising it. and putting it into people's heads that it's an option. Whereas what I want to advertise is healing and happiness. And I said this in a post the other week, it's okay not to be okay.
Well,
it's not. It's not okay not to be okay. Yes, it's okay to acknowledge that you're not okay and that you're not feeling great. But what the fuck do you do about it then? Let's heal. Let's look and see what's making us feel like that. And let's do the work. And it's hard. Like I said earlier on, my friend looked at me last week straight into my eyes and she went, Ciara, healing's hard. Whoever said it's easy is full of shit. Healing is hard, but you have to do the work. And then we're going to heal and then we're going to have happier lives. That's what I'm about advertising. That's what I want to talk about. I don't want to keep talking about miserable, trauma, shadow work. Yes, it needs talked about and dealt with, but only a small percentage. Does that make sense?
100%.
It's like, yes, we need to do this work, but then for why?
Yeah.
What is it we're trying to do here? We're trying to get happier.
Yeah.
Not to sit and, me and Kieran's going to be doing a thing after Christmas, and I've kind of put it into 3 sections. I'll not talk too much about it, but it'll make sense when we launch it in a few weeks. But I says, when we look at the work that we need to do, we can put it into 3 bits: past, present, future. Past is your trauma, your shit, your emotional baggage that we're all carrying. Your present is, so you got to do your healing work, your shadow work, your things like, I don't know, your therapy, your counselling, even stuff like plant medicines, ayahuasca, all that type of thing, right? Which is delving to heal. I call them emotional tumours. How do we get rid of these emotional tumours, right? Then you do the present work, which is your exercise, your nutrition, your meditation, your breath work, whatever it is in the everyday. Even watch a good film, spend time with friends. That's your everyday present work. And then you have your future, your mindset work, your goal setting, your manifesting. You're looking forward to stuff. You're visualising, like we talked about me visualising the thing in my building. It's like, if we can manage to do them 3, then we're going to have a happier, healthier life. What I found I was doing really well in my 30s was really good at exercising, good at nutrition, good at this, good at that, and good at manifesting, good at goal achieving, was able to build my business. But I hadn't healed from my past trauma. So that I was still unwell. Yeah. So no matter what I did, no matter what I achieved, I had all this amazing business and beautiful kids and beautiful home and this life that everybody was looking at going, it was great. But I was still carrying the emotional tumours. So I still wasn't well and I still wasn't happy. So that was when the past few years I went, right, I'm going to have to look at and do the shadow work here. So I'm trying to get a better balance of that. I do know some people, Donal, who spend too much time in the shadow work, and it's all too much time in the trauma and the past and the whatever, and they're not enjoying the now or they're not looking forward to the future. So to me, it's about a balance of all 3 aspects.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Even at the start there, like with suicide, like it's very much, I don't know if commercialise is the right word, or it's very much people are trying to create a trend. And this whole crack on Facebook and stuff where you see people, especially young people, like forever young and, all this carry on whenever someone dies, like, and, party hard in heaven and all this crack, like, it's just complete and utter nonsense, like, and it's not the answer, it's not just for yourself, it's everyone around you, and it's like, as you say, like, healing is one of the most hardest things, but one of the most precious things and most exciting things, like, anyone could ever do, and in my experience, it's tough. As you say, it's very, very tough, but no matter how well you're getting on in life, or no matter how well you're doing in sport or whatever, like I kind of was, I always had that wee thing dragging me down, telling me I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't, you're never going to do well, or you're whatever. So I had to address that. Well, I didn't really have a choice. It got to the end where I was burying that for so long. It was like, it just totally broke down, and that was through drink and drugs, like, so I very much relate to you on that sort of side of it in my journey. And to say about even with recovery, like, and we're talking as a recovery as human beings, the good thing is that you get your feelings back. The bad thing is that you get your feelings back, you know. But, you know, your feelings are coming back, and it's great because we never used to feel that pain of our emotional, what did you call it?
Well, I coined this term a while ago, emotional tumours.
Tumours, I like it. So our emotional tumours, we never really had anything towards them. It was just like, right, just don't address that. Don't just, yeah, exactly. Anything that comes into their head, right? What can I use to substitute that feeling, like sport or drugs or whatever, work?
Painkiller.
Or painkillers. Or, and I want to get onto this now, you mentioned medication. And like probably half your adulthood you've took antidepressants, and it's something that like I've been coming in and out of doctors since I was 14 or 15, you know, and I was always sort of told that, like, even growing up I used to wet the bed now, and I told you about my experiences before the podcast, and it used to be all things like that, and there was always doctors sort of throwing tablets at me and saying you need to just take this and that's you know, and that's why I'm so passionate about this at the minute, like, and I'm looking to see your view on what, like, for half your adulthood taking these antidepressants, what do you think it helped you? Do you think antidepressants are the answer, or what? Where do you stand with it?
Oh, now you're going to get me passionate. So, as I said, one of my aunts in America, she's a doctorate many times over, and people believe whatever you tell them.
100%.
So whenever somebody who is more educated or more experienced than you, for example, a doctor or an aunt who's a nurse practitioner or whatever, you believe them. So when your doctor's saying, go on to these antidepressants, and even a therapist who I went to, so of course you believe them. So for many years, I'm like, all right, it's just a genetic thing. My whole family will be on them for the rest of our lives. It's a chemical imbalance, and that's just that. And how I describe antidepressants is, I know if you're listening, you can't see this, but it's like, at this level is, say, normal, whatever that is. And then when you go through a bout of depression, you're down here, really, really low. Antidepressants will get you up to here. And you're so afraid to come off them because you're afraid to go back down there. So you're trapped here. But what they do is they put a lid on your feelings. So that's even joyfulness as well. Yes, they stop you being really, really, really low. But they also stop me from really feeling the joy of life. So they do numb you out to a certain extent. Now, numbing your feelings out when you're in pain is great. But if you're numbing yourself out from the joy of life, then what the frig's the point? So we have all these people in our society now who they're just so heart-scarred of feeling worse that they're living in this kind of slightly zombified way. And they're like, well, I'm fine, because it became their normal, as it was mine for many years. And it was only really my experience in the first lockdown that changed all that for me.
It's mad, and I would have a very similar view, like, to be honest. And you know, to say what is normal, and people sometimes, you know, it's nearly like that fear of. And I was talking to Kieran about this, about fear, because fear was always a big thing, even for me. And he was like, you know, fear isn't a feeling, like being happy, like being sad, you know, and it's our perception on it. But nearly like the world has us so afraid. You know, so we'll have to take this, or, you know, or we're afraid to make that breakthrough of like, listen, you know, I'll take these, but I want to go even further. I want to do my own inner work. I want to do this, but it's so often not the case, and even not the case for me, because I was just right, I'll take these tablets. And you're right, you're nearly like a zombie, and the way I would describe it is you're nearly like, you're just in existence, and you're not living, like you're just floating along life.
You're
and
surviving,
it's just like,
not thriving. 100%.
Yeah, 100%. And not like, I think us as human beings are like, we're here to test ourselves and to push ourselves to the limits that we don't know that we can get to, and that's something that I thrive on now through healing, and that's a class place to be in, and there's no tablets involved, like, do you know what I mean? There's nothing. And I suppose that leads me on to then the second part of my medicine question, and we were talking about it before, about your like plant medicines and stuff like that, and it's something that I have no idea about, but kind of interested through meeting news and stuff, and I want to get a bit of a better insight of what the crack is there with.
Okay, so at the start of lockdown, I was, as I said, I was very, very unwell. Stephen had just died. I just lots of things was coming up for me. I was diagnosed with a condition called PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. This was now the reason that I had suffered from depression from when I was 26. It was all hormone related. So you've heard of PMS or PMT. So it was meant to be all related to hormonal. So my private gynecologist, even psychiatrists, to try and I was always trying to get to the bottom of why I was feeling the way I was feeling, or stay on top of it and everything in between. And I went to the gynecologist, and basically I was told, well, you're going to need a hysterectomy. And so then you start researching hysterectomies, and it was like, there was no guarantee that was going to solve. It was just, so, and in the middle of being very, very unwell, I was like, I don't want a hysterectomy. Like, it's massive. It's not just organs that you don't need anymore because you've had kids. Like, it just, to me, it was just horrifying, the thought of it. So I went, I am going to research and try every single other alternative medicine I can before I take my organs out, because you can't put them back in again. So hence I went on a more intense journey of, and I remember there's a book called Lost Connections. Just to tip on what we're saying about medication, it's by a guy called Johann Hari, and he talks about why do we have pain? And I also read a book by the Dalai Lama called The Art of Happiness many years ago, and he touched on this. Like, why do we have feelings? Why do we have pain? Like, what is the reason? Why, when you put your hand in a fire, does it hurt? What is that reason? It's to tell us not to do that. So it's there for a reason. It's to give us a signal. So if you hurt your knee when you're hurling, right, it's to tell your brain to send whatever the white blood cells to heal that part of you. So the pain has a reason. The pain is there to show you something, for your brain to go, right, I need to fix that sore knee or that rash or that cut or that burn. So if physical pain is there for a reason, then surely emotional pain is there for a reason too. It's to show us that something needs to heal. But if we're taking medication, we're stopping that connection. We're stopping that signal. So we're just going through with what I refer to as emotional tumours, and we're not healing them. So we're never getting any better. So we're in this vortex of on this medication for years and years and years instead of doing the work and healing. So please, it's really hard. Pain is there for a reason. This society that we live in now, for the past whatever amount, 50 to 100 years, pharmaceuticals have come in. It's like, if you get a sore head, what is your first thought?
I know what you're getting at, but painkillers, yeah.
Go and get a paracetamol. Yeah. But that's the connection. Our connection now is, we get a sore head, we'll go and take a paracetamol or whatever, ibuprofen. But really it should be, I need to drink more water, I am stressed out, or I need more sleep. Yeah. That should be the signal. Yeah. So what is these signals telling us? Why are we in emotional pain? It's sitting with it. And by God, it's the hardest thing to do. Emotional pain is to sit in the emotional pain and go, what are you showing me? What do I need to heal from? So coming off medication is very scary and can be very overwhelming. The same way coming off even drink and drugs, because they're just medication. Yeah. So during the lockdown, that was then whenever I started to do the research on the plant medicines.
And what... You're right, because it is like alcohol and it's, you're just numbing. You're
numbing the emotional pain.
I mean? So it's 100% right. And coming off that, and as I said about feeling feelings and stuff, it's crazy, like, and tough. But it kind of makes us in a way, doesn't it, Ciara? Like, and I'd be a big believer in that. And we talked about before we started about, you know, nearly like full circle moments or journeys or whatever way you want to call it. And, you know, you could look back on our past, both of us, and what we've went through, and and say this isn't fair. This is this is why me, and self-pity, and or you can grab it with both your hands and say, do you know what, this happened to me for a reason. And what would your view be like on that sort of side of it? Like, this is my journey, this is my path, this is, and I'm going to use it as ammunition for the future.
I think you do. Yes, 100%. Where does the seed grow? In the dark. We grow in the dark, and I would never be the person I am or be able to do the work or talk like this unless I had went through the darkness, and that's what makes you more aware, and you have to accept that. And even still, even like a couple of weeks ago, I was getting it pretty tight, and I was like, fuck's sake, I'm here again, but then it's like, okay, so what are you here to show me this time? It's again accepting that just because you do this work doesn't mean that you're going to be sitting like the Dalai Lama for the rest of your life. We're still in the human experience, but it's accepting that it's okay and that you've learned enough, and that I said this to Kieran, it's like you can recover quicker. Yeah,
100%.
You can recover quicker.
Even in my experience, like, it's nearly like, right, so whenever the first time you went into these like emotional tumours and went and addressed them and tried to deal with things and deal with problems, like you don't realise, but you're all of a sudden building up your wheel toolbox, like, you know, and it's like, and that's the way I would view it, so my toolbox is fucking, it's heavy enough at the minute, because I've been through all these different stages and addressed different things. And so whenever these things do happen, because they do, like, I could be driving up the road and my wee chimp can come in and say, just go for a drink because you're useless, or you're not good enough, or you're, what are you even doing this for? You're crap, So, and then I get the toolbox out and be like, right, I've dealt with you before, mate. So then you learn how to deal with it again. I
know. I'm going to write a book saying the voice in your head is full of shit.
Yeah.
Yes, it's going to be the title of the book.
It's so true. Yeah. Like, and I would always practice of not living from a head level and living from like a soul level. And, people always say about listening to your gut. And it's so true, because like, how often is your gut wrong about things, like, about even, I don't know, if you're sitting at the traffic lights and if it's an amber, like, in your head's telling you just fucking go, and your gut's saying stay, and stay, and that's the simple way of putting it. But like, it's something that I always try and practice, like, and not let my head run away with things.
I think a big thing that I said this last week, it's like awareness will change, but emotions stay.
Yeah.
Your awareness will change, but you're still going to experience pain and fear and upset and all these different things. You don't get to this point of enlightenment where you don't feel any emotions anymore. Yeah, And I think that's another thing that I've got to accept. But going on to the plant medicines. So there is different types of plant medicines. So when I started researching, they're from the Amazon jungle. They're the likes of ayahuasca is a psychedelic brew. Okay. So you have to go, and obviously you need to go to do your research. I don't say it's for everyone. You have to do your research, and then they say you get called to do it. So it's like your soul is like, right, let's go and do this, because it is without a doubt one of the most hardest things you'll ever do. It's a bit like surgery for the emotional tumours. That's the best way I can describe it. It is extremely hard to do and to process and to go through. But how you feel after, and how you view life and how you view this experience is, I can honestly say, like, it was 2.5 years ago, the first time I did ayahuasca. And I can honestly say that the months coming after that and the next couple of years is the happiest years of my entire adult life.
That's mental.
I promise you. I've done it. And people are like, well, why do you need to keep going? I've done a few different plant medicines over the past couple of years. And people go, well, why do you need to do it again? If you're so happy and you've done this, why do you need to do it again? And it's like, well, it's a bit like, I always have to do analogies. It's a bit like having massive weight loss surgery and you lose all the weight and you're like, whoa, this is amazing. But you can put a bit of weight back on. you know, or there might be other emotional tumours that then start to come up that you need to deal with. But it is nothing short of incredible. My experience is nothing short of life-changing and incredible, and enjoying this life and seeing this experience of life like I haven't seen from I was a kid.
What changed, Ciara?
My perception, my understanding of this experience, my understanding of myself. I say to people, I've done the alphabet when it comes to therapy. I've done CBT, I've done EMDR, I've done RTT, EFT, you name it. I've tried every therapy known to man that's available. Hypnotherapy, Reiki, reflexology, acupuncture. I do yoga, hot yoga, cold water, all of it. I'll try anything and continue to do so, and they will all help, definitely. But it is literally, it's like describe a weekend on an ayahuasca retreat is like 10 years of intense psychotherapy day after day after day. So you know if you have a bit of counselling or therapy, you have a bit of a, all right, now I get that. It's like that times 1,000, 10,000. You're like, are you kidding me? It's eureka. Are you kidding me? I did all that to myself. I put myself under all that pressure. I made myself feel like that. Are you kidding me? And then you start laughing at how much you're in control of your own life. You're in control of your own thoughts. But it makes you understand, well, it was because that incident happened to you that you then went into survival mode or protection mode, and then you became like this, and then you started. It nearly unravels your whole program. And you're like, oh my God, I've been giving myself this hard time. It was me built all that up. And then to be free of that. And you look out at the sky and the tree, you hear the hippies talk about tree hugging. It's like, you actually see the world in a completely most beautiful, amazing way.
Yeah. And how long did you say? So this lasted for what? Many years?
Well, I went on an ayahuasca retreat about 2.5 years ago. Then I went on another one last year. I would do the odd different thing. There's different medicines, Cambo, Buffo, different things that I kind of dip my toe in and out of. And I'll probably do another ayahuasca retreat in a few months. Yeah.
So the only reason why I'm asking is because see that feeling that you had, it's sort of like a very similar feeling that I had whenever I was leaving rehab. You spent 3 months away and it's nearly like a life skills program and stuff like that. Then you're coming out and you have that way of thinking, and you're like, other people's opinions or you is none of your business and all this, you genuinely couldn't care, like. But society then creeps back in, and the world creeps back in, and these,
the programs.
Yeah, exactly. And this sort of starts to filter back in, and then before you know it, you're back comparing yourself to other people. You're back, maybe, I don't know, getting involved in some negative conversations or, things like that, because that's just the way the world is. And it only probably, for my went back working there, made me realise, Jesus, I did lose my way of where I was at for a while there. In terms of how I approach the world, and that place where you were in, I can sort of relate to it, and it's amazing, isn't it?
Well, that's what I say. I mean, ayahuasca or whatever isn't for everybody. I'm not saying you need to go and do this to feel this. Do whatever it is. There's lots of different stuff. I look at my younger sister. She doesn't need to go and do plant medicine. Yeah. She's great.
She's just grand, yeah.
So whatever, she thinks well, she doesn't think I'm not. She's, and lots of my friends and family have went, the change in you, Ciara, is quite extraordinary. You don't seem to get as, I would have got irritable, stress, I would have snapped quite easy, all these different things. They're like, you're a lot more easygoing. Yeah. Whereas if you had met me 5, 6, 7 years ago, I was, businesswoman, da-da-da-da-da. And now I'm just, as I say, maybe a bit more easygoing with it all.
Or zen.
Yeah, a bit more zen.
Chill.
Yeah.
It's a nice place to be in, whenever you're not running, because of the rat race of the world. And then that leads us on to, now you have a new purpose, and you found this new purpose in the last, it must be a couple of years. And I was supposed to talk to Ciara May about Happy Fest and stuff like that, and I didn't really get into it. So I suppose you're here now and you're half owner of Happy Fest, and you know, you're doing other things. You're doing a course. I listened to your podcast the other night.
Yeah, there's lots of new stuff coming.
Yeah. So tell me a wee bit more about your new venture.
Okay, so obviously, you know, my biggest thing, even with the makeup, even when I was teaching all the girls to become, obviously there was guys too, but mainly girls to become makeup artists, my biggest thing that I loved was when someone came back and went, you really helped me. You really helped me leave that job that I hated and become a makeup artist, and you helped me believe in myself. So it was really inspired. That's what I got the biggest buzz out of. You know, it's great doing a bloody smoky eye and whatever, but to actually, when people came back and says, you really helped me change my life, you know, you can't get paid for that stuff. So obviously, you know, with my healing journey over the past few years, I'm like, I just keep saying, people need to know about this stuff. People need to know that there is other options than lifting the phone and phoning the doctor and getting antidepressants. They need to know that there's other ways, you know. And that was really, you know, it was like, I need to tell people there's other ways to heal. There's other ways to live. You don't have to live in that zombified, surviving. I wanted people to experience what I'd experienced of just enjoying my life again. For the first time in my whole adult life, it was just like this filter come off and I'm like, are you kidding me? This was here all along. I could enjoy my life and enjoy the simple things, and it's been here all along. I need to tell everybody about this. So me and Kate had done a thing. Kate Conway had done like a podcasty thing called The Life Lounge, which was amazing. We interviewed lots of practitioners and therapists, and Kieran was even on that. But then obviously when lockdown was over and Kate was really busy with her radio work and her other business, I went back to makeup. So that kind of went by the by. But then I had this concept for an event. And obviously me and Kieran are great friends. We do the cold water swim, and he was doing all what he did. So me and him, you know, came together and went, right, let's do an event. Let's get these practitioners and therapists and get these speakers and guides and let's tell people. So that was how Happy Fest came about. We were hoping for 300 or 400 people. We were hoping for maybe 20 exhibitors. It ended up we had to turn away exhibitors after we had, I think, in the end up it was about 43, 44 exhibitors, and we could have doubled that, only there wasn't enough room in the location, and we had over 1,000 people turn up on the day. And I kind of say on a wing and a prayer, because we kind of wung it, you know. It was like, well, let's just see what happens. And then it was such an amazing day, you know. And people just came away. The exhibitors all came away. The people were like, oh my God, I didn't really know what Reiki was, and now I do. And I didn't know what hypnotherapy was. And again, we had talkers on, you know, the plant medicines and stuff. So just building awareness. So now this community grew, and everybody was saying, well, what you can't, you know, what else are you going to do? So we have now come together with another couple of events. We have an event happening next week, and one next month. You'll have to come to it.
Definitely, yeah.
And then we have big plans for the new year.
Brilliant.
I'm not allowed to say an awful lot, but there is big plans for the new year, because we want, bottom line is, we want to help people live happier, healthier lives. Happy.
Yeah.
We want to advertise happy.
Yeah. And it's something that I would like I'd be very passionate about, and I say to boys, like, and whenever they come into rehab, like, see what's done, it's done. Like, you can't change the past, so start being excited about who you're going to become.
Yes.
And this is the thing, like, through healing there is happiness, and I actually remember leaving rehab one day, one of the boys said to me, one of the boys who worked there, Pat McGinn, and he said to me, now Donald, there's still a bit of living to be done. And I thought about that a lot, like, because I was going, what is he talking about? And like, that is living, like what you're saying there about the cold water swimming and all this here, and doing all these events and talks, and, you know, and connecting with people who are like you and like-minded people, not sitting in the corner of a pub, you know, do you know what I mean? Like, and it's mad whenever you get that sort of light bulb moment where you're like, fuck me, there is a world out there and it's
Well,
so exciting.
this is it. It's like, we kind of grew up. Something come up, it was Instagram or something last night, and it was like, why do people think that a drink is a reward?
Yeah.
Oh, I got a new job, let's go for a drink. Oh, it's my birthday, let's go for a drink. Oh, it's that connection, that association. And thank God I've just kind of, I don't really drink that much. It doesn't do it for me. It doesn't give me that feeling that I've experienced the past couple of years of getting into the cold water or all the other stuff that
the cold water's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's the best drug there is.
good.
Like I would try and get once a week, like either whether it's in Ballycastle when I'm dropping Granny up the caravan or over to Brampton there.
Yeah, I was in Brampton on Sunday there. Yeah.
So like I would try like at least once a week. I would love to do it more. Like, and how much does that help you?
People, whenever, when I'm doing my makeup classes and all, they're like, no, but I don't like the cold. And I'm like, no human likes the cold. I think they think that I must have different skin or something, which is probably when I first, a couple of years ago when I first started doing it with Kieran and Kate and stuff, I was like, oh, I'm electric throw on my sofa and one on my bed and I kind of move from one to the other. I'm not really... I hate being cold, as any human hates being cold. So people, again, that's a mindset thing. So I try to tell people, look, it's that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Is hating the cold and doing it anyway. And then the experience you have in your body, like talk about blowing the cobwebs off and feeling alive and then the rush of endorphins that you get. But the best bit of it is driving the half an hour to Brampton and back again, with being in the car with a couple of mates or even my kids, and we'll put the music on, and it's the whole experience, and it's free.
Well, exactly, yeah, and that's my big thing too. Like, you can go and spend an hour of your day and go and do this, and it changes. Even being attentive and whenever you're having conversations with people, you're more there. You know what I mean? You're more alert. It's just living, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's just doing the right things. It's class. And I did say there, obviously, the happy, like, you got a new purpose and the Happy Fest started. And you mentioned the other night, I was listening to yourself and Kieran, you were launching your new event, and you were saying you were doing a course in something, I forget what it was.
Yes, my course. I'm doing, I'm in the middle of, it's with a guy who specialises in somatic healing for anxiety.
Right, what's that look like?
Okay, so, I've only started it a few weeks and still getting my head around it myself, but it resonated with me. So there's different ways to, he talks about when we suffer from anxiety or depression, right? There's lots of therapy. He describes it as from the head down. So you go and you talk therapy, or if you think different, then you'll start to feel different, right? So say you're worried about something. I don't know, finances, for example, right? So then you start to feel a bit like your chest tightens, you're getting palpitations, your stomach feels not nice, you're feeling yucky because of whatever it is you're thinking about. So yes, while we have talking therapies and that's trying to change your thoughts and your CBT and all that jazz, his way is let's change your physical, which is somatic, it's in the body. So let's change our somatic feelings and then see does our thoughts change after that. So what he does is, so when you have a trigger, what happens in your body?
Fear.
Okay, but what, not fears,
Sorry.
but what physically?
Oh, like your stomach could be in knots and you feel small. Is that what you mean? Or
when you say you feel small, that's your head.
Yeah.
I want you to physically tell me what happens in your body when you're feeling fear. You feel a bit sick to your stomach, like the physical. You feel sick to your stomach, or your chest tightens, or your throat might feel a bit closed over. So he does a process that actually starts to change the physical.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Does,
yeah. So I'm still doing that. So I've done a couple of what he refers to as processes. So he'll bring up a trauma or a trigger from your past, and then he'll go, right, tell me how you physically feel when you think about that memory, because it's stored in the body. So when you think about that thing that happened to you when you were 11, for example, whether it's rejection or something really bad or traumatic or whatever, how does your body physically feel? Okay, so that's a connection that's somewhere stored in our system. Yes?
Yeah. So
let's try and eradicate that. So he'll take us through a process. He calls it 20-20-20. I would have to physically do it with you to show you. But then afterwards, so I've done it a few times, this process. So now when I think about that memory, I don't have that physical association anymore. So that neurological pathway has now cleared. So that's somatic healing. Does that?
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Nearly like your toolbox again, coming back into it, you know. And it, like, even for like something as simple as like anxiety, which is fucking rife, everyone's just anxious about going to the shop or doing anything or, friend groups.
Exactly. So he talks about self-regulation and co-regulation. So he's like, for me, I want to be able, like when you sit there and go, oh my God, I'm so anxious today, for me to take you through a 5 or 10 minute process that's going to help you self-regulate, or I can co-regulate you to change that physical feeling. And then what happens when you change that physical anxious feeling, your thoughts start to change. So it's like the other way around.
Yeah, and has that domino effect. Yeah. And then you're going to lead a better
So it's just another tool.
And what does that look like then for the future for you? Like, are you going to start practicing this or teaching people?
I haven't decided on that yet.
More learning.
I'm always very thirsty for knowledge. Maybe I do want to start. I mean, imagine being able to self-regulate yourself when you're starting to get triggered.
Be amazing.
And then to help other people, amazing. So I'm sure it will be introduced with this stuff that I'm doing with Kieran, because of what we're planning on doing. It will be introduced. Is it something that I want to do full time, all day, every day? I can't see that right now, but it definitely will be introduced with the new stuff that's coming.
Okay, we've been excited about this new stuff. Yeah. You're putting it up there, aren't you?
I know,
it better be good.
Well, I was like, Kieran the other night, he's like, I'm just busting to spit it out, but we're just trying to get things into place, and then we're gonna.
No, it's class. Like, and I think the more and more we do that, because I think you are like the first people in the north anyway to do something of this type or sort, and it's great to see. It really, really is. And you mentioned something there, and it was funny, like you said about your sister. You said she thinks I'm mad. No, she doesn't really. And it's funny because people think that sometimes whenever you find this new way of thinking or new way of living or new way of just being different than everyone else, think you're nuts.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? And I get it too. Like, people probably do think that, like, even like my friend group and stuff would probably think like, Jesus, what the fuck, like, where's he, where do you stand with that in terms of, you can only change you in terms of whatever way you approach life and then whatever way you think. So for them is to be living in, I'm not talking about your sister, by the way, or my friends, I'm talking about in general, to be looking from the outside in, going like, because we're doing something different or trying to address different things or live life a different way, they automatically think you're not right in the head. Would I be fair enough in saying that?
Oh, massively. But it's just fear.
Yeah.
It's fear of the unknown. And when you're starting to talk about things that they don't know about, and when we don't know about something, the first thing that kicks in is our fear, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So they're just like, what are they talking about? Then the other thing that kicks in is you're making them start to question themselves, and a lot of people are not ready to look at their uncomfortable or their pain or their trauma. So when you start to say that, you're poking at them, and they're like, oh, I'm not going there, I don't want to deny it, I'll just hear, and that's okay, that's just where they're at. But then, to me, the more you do this work, and then the more you resonate, something will resonate with some, and then they'll come, like the first time I heard about plant medicines and psychedelics, I went, no, not for me. Are you kidding me? Are you drugs? Are you telling me drugs? So I had that impression because I didn't know. I was fearful. I researched them for a long, long time before I ventured into that. So I understand whenever I talk about it, people go, what? but it's just a lack of awareness and fear. And that's okay. All we can do is keep leaving the breadcrumbs. And you have to be the advertisement. You can't keep going, you need to do this stuff, it's amazing.
Yeah.
No, but my friends, there's one in particular who has seen the change in me. She's went, like, you're just so much more easygoing. You don't seem to get as wound up about it. So be the advertisement. You can't say it. You have to be it. Yeah. And it's like if you shine a wee bit more light and you seem happier, that is what's going to get people to go, well, you must be doing something right. You know, it's a bit like someone saying, do this and you're going to lose loads of weight. But they haven't lost any weight. You're not going to listen. But if you see results, then you're going to be like, well, whatever they're doing, they're getting good results from it. I want to understand. And I'm now in a place of very uncomfortable that I want something to change in my life. So it's just breadcrumbs. And my friend Mags always says, whatever lands, lands. So whatever, somebody might listen to this podcast and 3/4 of it might go, what the hell is that girl talking about? But if there's one thing that somebody goes, I resonate with that, that's it.
Yeah.
It's just little breadcrumbs.
And I'm a big believer in that, like picking out nuggets of what you need, and whatever works for you, you know, because if you did try and take in everything we've just talked about, you probably, you know, you forget about it as quick as you try to take it in. So if you know, have an open mind. And,
have an open mind.
The different things, and, you know, if you can pick something up, it's great. And as you say, just and it does have that domino effect then through friend groups or through,
yeah. Kieran says about the ripple effect, and it really, really, I went, oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not just doing this work for me.
Yeah.
I'm doing this work for my kids.
Exactly.
And their kids and my friends, my family and my work and my whatever. And it's like, if I can get a wee bit better and shine a wee bit more light, because it all boils down to one thing. And this is where the real hippie comes out. But it genuinely is, it all comes down to love.
Big time.
That's it.
Yeah.
And if we can just experience more love in our life, then that's what we're here to do.
And I think that all starts with, I mean, Kieran, I think talked about this too, building that sort of relationship with yourself where you do love yourself.
Self-love.
And you can look in the mirror and be like, you know, I do know who that person is and I have a connection with him or her or whatever, because for long times we do beat ourselves up and we don't value ourselves and stuff like that. But yeah, just I suppose to finish off, like I could talk to you all day, so I could, once you get into it, it's class. But there's a lot of people out there, including me now, after talking to you, has got a better insight to where you're at in your journey and your story and your struggles and what you're passionate about. What sort of advice would you give to anyone, you know, wanting to start off a business, whether it doesn't need to be makeup or anything, it just
starting off a business
and a purpose to life, or, you know, because obviously you've done very well. So anyone who's sort of sitting in the fence and doesn't think they can do it, or they don't think they're good enough, or would you have any advice?
We just know that that's a program running, and the programs can be changed. And I'll just say the same thing that I say to I've trained over 2,000 people to become makeup artists, and I say the same thing to every single one of them on their first day. Don't ever let fear or embarrassment stop you from doing what you want to do. And question whatever it is stopping you. And it usually comes down to fear.
Yeah.
So, and there's a book called, and it's quite, I'm sure it was 20 years ago I read it, called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And understanding that other people who have went before you, and whether it's starting a business or even a healing journey, it doesn't matter, whatever that thing is that you want to do. Because people think, oh God, no, I don't have the confidence to do that. Oh God, no, I couldn't do that. It's understanding that the people who have done it still felt that fear, the exact same fear, but they did it anyway. So it's not about you cannot be confident at doing something you've never done before. It's impossible. You only get confidence after you've done it. So how do you get from there to there? How do you get from, oh Jesus, you need courage and many podcasts I've used, it's not about being confident in doing something, it's about being courageous. It's about looking for that wee inner lion or that inner fight, or, you know, like just going, frick it, I am going to do this. Yeah. And we all have so much courage, and sometimes it's buried way, way under all the shit and programs and crap and emotional tumours, but we all have courage. And just knowing, just having that wee bit of courage for yourself is the biggest 100%. Thing I can tell you.
Yeah, and the famous saying, like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, like, you know. So if you do go for it and you feel like, just get back and go again, and just keep going, like. And,
yeah,
you know,
go and watch some Rocky movies.
Yeah.
You know, and just it's just about getting up.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter many times you get hit. It's about many times you get back up again.
And just keep going, and you've shown it, and you're living proof that you do have the ability to bounce back from different things that's happened in your life. And, you know, you should be immensely proud of yourself, like, for what you have done. And
Thank you.
And I love what you're doing now, and I love what you and Kieran are doing together and stuff. I think it's fantastic, and I definitely have to get involved.
And here, kudos to you as well. You know, putting yourself out there, being vulnerable is fucking tough. Healing is tough. Showing the things that you're afraid of is tough, but that's what takes courage and bravery so much. You know, it's easy to go out when you're on the high and you're out hurling and you're being celebrated, or you're out and you're doing your makeup or whatever. But whenever you're really low and vulnerable and you just feel like that, and putting that out there, so fair play to you.
It's a good place to be in, and that's living, isn't it? And that's both of us are doing now. We're being honest with ourselves, and, you know, there's a lot of comfort in that, and there's no fear anymore, because we're enjoying what we're doing, and it's great, isn't it? So, no, Ciara Daly, thanks very much.
Thank you.
It was an honour having you, and a pleasure. So thanks to Ciara, and a big shout out again to what is it, 1620 to 1620 Audio, Sean McDonald's audio studio company. So if anyone's thinking about setting up any podcasts or anything like this, you know, get in contact with me, or I'll tag Sean's page on Instagram, and you can go through him. He's brilliant and very accommodating, and, you know, he's been very good to me. So thanks, Sean, and thank you all as well for your support and continued support every week. It's amazing, and I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share and all that crack, and I will see you all next week. Cheers.